Winners don't do different things. They do things differently.
It's a bit of a mind bender when you first hear it, isn't it?
It really is.
It sounds like a riddle or, Zenkanion or something.
It does. I'll admit, when I first opened the book and read that line, I had to stop. I think I reread it 3, maybe 4 times. Because, look, I think we're culturally obsessed, especially in, say, the tech world or the startup world, with this idea that the winner, the superstar, the icon, has access to some secret lever.
The secret sauce.
Exactly. We think they're doing something fundamentally different than us. They have a different morning routine, a different diet, a different operating system in their brain.
Mm-hmm. Something we just don't have.
But this quote, and it really is the absolute heartbeat of the book we're covering today, it just says no.
It flips the whole table. It says the difference isn't the what.
It's the how.
It's the how. And that is, I think, both incredibly liberating and, honestly, a little terrifying.
Terrifying. How so?
Well, because it takes away your excuse, doesn't it? If success isn't about having a secret map that you don't possess, but it's about how you navigate the map you already have, well, then the responsibility lands square in your lap.
That is a very heavy way to start things off, but you're right. And we are going to unpack exactly how to handle that responsibility today.
We are.
We are doing a massive deep dive into a classic. I mean, this thing has sold millions of copies. It's been translated into practically every language. We are talking about You Can Win by Shiv Khera.
And this is one of those books that I think people tend to underestimate because the title sounds a bit generic.
You can win. Yeah.
Right. It sounds like something you'd see on a cheesy poster in a high school guidance counselor's office.
We will absolutely admit I judged this book by its cover. I went in expecting, a lot of fluff.
And what did you find instead?
I found a manual. I mean, a dense, practical manual. And Khera actually described it that way himself. He uses 3 metaphors in the intro that I thought were really useful for setting the stage for what we're about to do.
3 manuals, yeah.
He calls the book a construction manual, a cookbook, and a guidebook.
I love the cookbook analogy.
Me too.
Because you can have the best ingredients in the world. You can have the intelligence, the capital, the opportunity. But if you don't have the recipe,
right?
If you don't know the ratio of heat to time or what to mix first, you just end up with an inedible mess.
A very expensive, inedible mess. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out that recipe. We aren't just going to rattle off a few catchy slogans.
No.
Khera claims he's presenting ancient wisdom, common sense, that he argues just isn't that common anymore, so we're going to stress test that idea.
And we're going to follow his structure, which is really logical.
It is. We're going to walk through the book, starting from the inside out, from the internal world of attitude to success, motivation, self-esteem, and then moving to the external world of interpersonal skills, habits, and finally, values.
So think of it as a toolkit. By the end of this hour, you should be able to look at your own career or your own life and maybe spot exactly which tool is missing or which one needs sharpening.
So let's get into the construction site. Section 1, the absolute foundation of everything, attitude.
You really can't build a skyscraper on a swamp, right? If the attitude is wrong, the entire structure eventually sinks, no matter how great the design is.
And Khera opens this section with a story that I think sets the tone for the whole book. It's the story of the balloon seller.
A classic.
It's a famous one, but for anyone listening who hasn't heard it, maybe you can set the scene for us.
Yeah, of course. So you have to imagine a fairground. It's noisy, it's chaotic, kids are running everywhere. And in the middle of all this, there's a man selling balloons.
Okay.
And he's a pretty smart marketer.
Yeah.
Every time business starts to slow down a little bit, he takes one of his helium balloons and he just lets it go.
Oh, clever.
Yeah. He'll release a bright red one, and then a little later, maybe a vibrant yellow one, and all kids see this colorful thing shooting up into the sky, and they get excited, and they all come running over to buy one.
Pure stimulus response. A very simple, effective sales tactic.
Exactly. But then in the middle of this, he feels a little tug on his jacket. He looks down, and there's a young boy standing there. And this kid is looking up at him with these really serious, inquisitive eyes. And he asks a question that is it's so heartbreakingly innocent.
Now, what does he ask?
He points up at the bunch of balloons, and he asks, "Mister, if you release a black balloon, would that also fly?"
Oof.
Yeah, it just stops you cold.
Because you realize immediately he's not asking about balloons.
No, not at all. He's asking about himself. He's asking, does my exterior, my skin color, my background, how I look on the outside, does that ground me?
Yeah.
Or Or can I fly too?
And the salesman's response is the thesis of this whole first chapter. It's the whole point.
It is. He gets down on one knee, looks the boy right in the eye and says, "Son, it is not the color of the balloon. It is what is inside that makes it go up."
It is what is inside that makes it go up. It's such a simple, beautiful metaphor, but let's be real, applying that is incredibly hard.
Oh, it is.
We live in a world that is completely obsessed with the exterior. We are obsessed with the color of the balloon, your degree, your zip code, your network, your technical skills.
We absolutely are. And Khera anticipates that objection. He doesn't just leave it at a nice, heartwarming story. He brings in the data.
Right.
And there's a study he cites, attributed to Harvard University, that I think will actually annoy a lot of people listening.
Okay, lay it on me. I'm ready.
The study suggests that when a person gets a job, or gets a promotion, or achieves some kind of major success, 85% of that success is attributed to attitude.
85.
85%.
So that leaves, what, just 15% for actual skills? For knowing what you're doing?
That's right. 15% for all the facts, the figures, the coding ability, the engineering degrees, the financial modeling, all of it.
Okay, I have to push back on that for a second. That sounds wild. If I'm hiring a brain surgeon, I don't really care if he has a can-do attitude. I care a lot about the 15%. I want him to know where the nerves are.
And that's a totally fair point. And Khera isn't saying competence doesn't matter. Of course it does. You need the 15% just to get in the room.
It's the price of admission.
What's the price of admission? If you can't hold the scalpel, you're not a surgeon. But think about it in terms of career trajectory. We've all worked with that person. Let's call him the brilliant jerk.
Oh, absolutely. The person who is a technical genius but is just toxic to everyone around them.
Right. He knows the facts. He has the 15% completely locked down. But does he get the promotion to lead the team?
Never.
Does he get people to rally behind him during a crisis? Usually, no. He hits a ceiling. Or worse, he gets managed out. Not because he was incompetent, but because his attitude, the 85%, was a massive liability.
That's a really good distinction. So the 15% gets you hired, but the 85% gets you promoted or fired.
Exactly. And the real tragedy, as Khera points out, is how we allocate our resources. Think about our entire education system. How much money, time, and stress do we pour into developing that 15%?
Pretty much. 100% of it. We drill facts, we teach for tests, we focus on technical competence above all else.
And we leave the 85% things like resilience, optimism, people skills, integrity. We leave all of that completely to chance. We just sort of hope kids pick it up along the way.
Yeah, by osmosis or something.
And Khera's argument is that this massive imbalance is why you see so many smart people who are constantly struggling, while other people who might be less qualified on paper just zoom right past them.
Okay, so if we accept that attitude is the primary driver, it's the helium inside the balloon, we have to define what a good attitude actually looks like, because I worry this can drift into toxic positivity.
Right, the just smile and everything will be fine mantra.
Exactly. That doesn't feel real.
No. And Khera is very careful to avoid that. He's not talking about blind optimism. He's talking about the ability to recognize value and opportunity where others don't.
Okay.
And he uses a story here that is, well, it's a tragedy, really. But it's the kind of story that just gets stuck in your brain forever. The story of Acres of Diamonds.
I remember this one. It's about the farmer, right? Hafiz.
That's the one, Hafiz. He's a wealthy farmer in ancient Africa. And he's happy because he's content, and he's content because he's wealthy. It's a very stable, happy loop.
Until someone messes it up.
Until one day, a wise man visits him. And this wise man basically drops a bomb on his entire worldview.
What does he tell him?
He tells Hafiz about diamonds. He describes them in detail. He says, Hafiz, if you had a diamond the size of your thumb, you could buy this entire city. If you had one the size of your fist, you could probably buy the country.
And then he just leaves.
Just leaves.
Yeah.
And suddenly, Hafiz's farm isn't enough anymore. His wealth feels like poverty.
He goes to bed that night, a poor man.
Exactly. Not because he lost anything tangible, but because he lost his contentment. He became obsessed. So he sells the farm, leaves his family, and goes wandering across the continent, searching for these diamonds.
And this is where the story gets really dark.
It does. He wanders for years and years. He finds nothing. He runs out of money, his health fails, and eventually, in a fit of total despair, he throws himself into a river in Barcelona and dies.
It's a horrific ending, but that's not the end of the story, is it?
No, that's the twist. We cut back to the farm that Hafiz sold. The new owner is out one day watering his camels in a stream that cuts right through the property. The morning sun hits a strange-looking rock in the water, and it flashes with this brilliant blue and red light. He thinks it looks nice. He picks it up, takes it home, and puts it on his mantle as a decoration.
And then the wise man comes back.
A few weeks later, the wise man returns. He walks in, sees the rock on the mantle, and just freezes. He asks the new owner, "Is Hafiz back?"
And the owner says no.
The owner says no. Why? And the wise man points to the rock and says, "Because that is a diamond."
And not just any diamond.
One of the largest diamonds ever discovered. And it turns out the entire farm, the stream, the fields, everything, was literally covered in them. Acres and acres of diamonds.
The very thing Hafiz sold everything to find was under his feet the entire time.
The irony is just crushing. He was sitting on unimaginable wealth and sold it to go look for it somewhere else.
So what's the practical lesson here for us? Is it just don't sell your farm, stay put?
No, I don't think it's that literal. I think it's about recognition. Khera breaks this down into two key lessons. First, the obvious one. The grass is always greener on the other side.
Right. We devalue what we have.
We're wired to do it. But the second point is the real kicker. He says, people who don't know how to recognize opportunity complain of noise when it knocks.
Complain of noise when it knocks. That is so good.
Isn't it? Because in the rough, a diamond just looks like a rock. It requires a trained eye, an attitude of seeking value to see the gem inside. For most of us, when opportunity shows up, it looks like hard work.
Or a problem. Or an inconvenience.
Exactly. It looks like a rock. So we kick it aside, complain about the noise, and keep walking, looking for the finished, polished diamond to just appear.
So a bad attitude, in this sense, isn't just being grumpy or negative. It's a filter failure. You are literally filtering out opportunities because they don't look like winning lottery tickets.
Precisely. It's a form of cognitive blindness.
Okay, so let's get tactical. If I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, oh God, I think I might be Hafiz. I think I've been chasing diamonds and ignoring my own backyard. How do I change my filter? I mean, is attitude something you're just born with, or can you actually manufacture it?
Khera argues it's absolutely manufacturable. But to do that, you have to understand the inputs. He calls them the triple A's of attitude.
The triple E's. Okay.
Environment, experience, and education.
Let's break those down. Environment seems like the most obvious one. The people you're around, the place you work.
It is, but I think we often underestimate its toxicity. Khera has a great line. In a corrupt environment, honest people suffer. In an honest environment, corrupt people suffer.
That's really interesting. So if you are a high-integrity person, but you're working in a shady company, your good attitude is actually going to make you miserable.
Of course. You will be fighting against the current every single day. Sometimes the fix for a bad attitude isn't meditation or positive affirmations. It's quitting your job.
It's changing your environment.
Yes. You have to audit where you are. Are you in a place that lifts you up, or are you the crab trying to climb out of the bucket while everyone else pulls you down? And we'll get to the crabs later.
I'm looking forward to the crabs. Okay, so next is experience. This is about our past, right?
This is all about behavioral conditioning. If you had a boss who screamed at you every time you made a small mistake, you eventually learned to hide your mistakes. That becomes your attitude towards problems. Hide the truth, avoid the pain.
So we're carrying around this luggage from a job we had 10 years ago.
Absolutely, and we have to consciously unpack it. We have to look at our automatic reactions and ask, am I reacting to this situation right now, or am I reacting to a ghost from my past?
And the third E is education. But knowing Khera's stance on that Harvard study, I'm guessing he doesn't just mean getting another degree.
Definitely not. He makes a really sharp distinction between being literate and being educated. He says we are drowning in information, but starving for knowledge and wisdom.
I feel that.
True education, in this context, is learning how to learn. It's developing emotional intelligence. It's the ability to correctly interpret those past experiences and successfully navigate your current environment.
This all leads to an acronym that he uses a lot in the book, TQP.
Total quality people.
Right. We hear about TQM, total quality management, in the business world all the time. Six Sigma, Kaizen, all that stuff.
And Khera's point is that all of that is useless window dressing if you don't first have TQP. You can have the best software, the slickest processes, the most beautiful office building.
But if the people running the system have rotten attitudes,
the system will rot from the inside out, guaranteed.
He also talks about the whole person concept here, and I think this is becoming more and more relevant now, especially with remote work blurring the lines. He says you can't separate the worker from the human.
For decades, the corporate world tried to do exactly that. The mantra was, leave your personal problems at the door.
Right.
Khera says that's biologically impossible. You're not a robot with a switch. If you're going through a messy divorce or if you're drowning in debt, you are absolutely taking that stress and anxiety into the meeting with you.
So if we really want to win, we can't just focus on career success in a silo. We have to focus on the person building the career.
Exactly. You have to fix the composition of the helium inside the balloon first.
Okay, so we've laid the foundation. We know attitude is the 85% driver, but an attitude has to be directed towards something. We need a target. Which brings us to section 2, defining success.
And Khera has a very specific, I think very dynamic definition for this.
He does. He borrows it from Earl Nightingale, which is a great pedigree.
It is. The definition is, success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
There are 3 really heavy lifting words in that sentence: progressive, realization, and worthy. Let's parse those. What does progressive mean here?
Progressive is the antidote to what I call the I'll be happy when syndrome.
Oh, I know that one well. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I buy the house. I'll be happy when it's Friday.
We all do it. And Khera says that's a trap. Success isn't a destination you arrive at. It's the motion. It's the journey itself. If you are actively moving forward toward your goal, you are succeeding right now, not at some point in the future.
Okay, what about realization?
That's the internal click. It's the feeling of it. You have to know it. I mean, you can be successful on paper. You can be rich, famous, powerful. But if you don't realize it internally, if you still feel like a fraud or you're miserable,
then you're not successful.
By this definition, no. It's an internal experience.
And the most subjective one, worthy.
This is the moral compass of the whole operation. I mean, think about it. You could be a very successful bank robber.
True.
You could have a great plan, execute it perfectly, get away with millions. By a purely technical definition, you succeeded at your goal. But is it a worthy goal?
Obviously not.
Khera argues no. If the goal destroys value, or hurts other people, or diminishes your own character, then the achievement is hollow. It's not true success.
This connects to one of my favorite concepts in the whole book, and I think it gives so much hope to people who feel like they're just average, the concept of the winning edge.
This is for everyone listening who feels like they're miles behind the competition. Khera uses this brilliant horse racing analogy.
Set it up for us.
So in a major derby, like the Kentucky Derby, the horse that comes in first might win, say, $1 million. The horse that comes in second might win $100,000.
Okay, so that's a 10x difference in the reward.
A massive difference.
Yeah.
But here's the question. Was the first horse 10 times faster than the second horse? Did it run the track in 1 minute while the second horse took 10 minutes?
No, of course not. It probably won by a nose, a fraction of a second.
Exactly. The difference in performance was maybe 1%, maybe less. But the difference in the reward was 1,000%. That is the winning edge.
You don't need to be 10 times better.
You don't need to be 1,000% smarter than your colleague to get the promotion. You don't need to be 1,000% more talented. You just need to be a tiny bit better, but consistently.
I love the math he uses here to break it down. He says, you don't need to improve 1,000% in one area. You need to improve 1% in 1,000 different areas.
It's the aggregation of marginal gains. It makes success feel so much more accessible.
Totally.
You can improve your punctuality by 1%. You can improve how well you listen in meetings by 1%. You can improve your email response time by 1%. You stack all those little 1%s up, and suddenly you have that noselead that results in the exponential reward.
But getting that edge, even a 1% edge, implies effort. It implies a struggle. And this is where Khera gets a little tough on us. He says we have a struggle deficiency in modern society.
He does. We are biologically wired to avoid pain and seek comfort. But he argues that pain is the actual mechanism of growth. And he tells the story of the biology teacher and the cocoon.
This is another classic, but it's worth retelling because the biological detail is what really matters.
It is. So a student in biology class is watching a cocoon. The butterfly inside is trying to emerge, and it's struggling hard.
It looks painful.
Agonizing. It's beating its wings against the shell, trying to force this swollen body through this impossibly tiny opening. It looks like it's stuck and it's going to die.
So it's the student, wanting to be the hero, wanting to help.
Grabs a pair of scissors.
Oh, no.
Makes a little snip in the cocoon. He opens the door, and the butterfly just falls out easily. No more struggle.
But there's a problem.
There's a huge problem. The butterfly has a swollen, fat body and tiny shriveled wings. The student waits for the wings to expand and for it to fly away, but they never do.
What happens?
The butterfly just drags its useless body around on the ground for a few hours, and then it dies.
Why? What went wrong?
Because the struggle was the development. The act of squeezing its body through that tiny hole is what forces the fluid from its body out into its wings. That pressure is what strengthens them and makes flight possible.
So by removing the struggle, the student removed the capacity to fly.
He killed it with kindness.
Wow. That hits hard, especially for parents or managers. We think we're helping when we solve every problem for people, when we snip the cocoon.
But we might actually be crippling them.
We're giving them shriveled wings.
Exactly. If you save your kids from every single failure, you are sending them out into the world unprepared to fly. You have to respect the struggle. It's necessary.
Speaking of failure, Khera reframes it completely. He says failure isn't the opposite of success.
It's the highway to success.
And he brings out the ultimate receipt to prove this point. Abraham Lincoln's resume before he became president. It is just a comedy of errors.
It's unbelievable when you read it all at once.
It really is. I have the list here. Let's go through it. Failed in business at age 21.
I got a rough start.
Defeated in a legislative race at 22.
Strike two.
Failed in business again at 24.
Ouch.
His sweetheart died at 26. He had a nervous breakdown at 27.
This is just getting depressing. Keep going.
Lost a congressional race at 34. Lost a senatorial race at 45. Failed in his bid to become vice president at 47. Lost another senatorial race at 49.
And then elected president of the United States at 52.
It's incredible. If he had stopped at age 50, he would be a complete footnote in history. Some guy from Illinois who lost a lot of elections.
The key distinction Khera makes here is linguistic, but it is so vital. There is a difference between failing and being a failure. Failing is an event. It happened on a Tuesday. You lost the race. Being a failure is an identity. It's a state of mind.
Right.
And you only become a failure at the moment you decide to quit.
As long as you're still in the cocoon struggling, you're not a failure.
You're just in the struggle phase of the butterfly. You're building your wings.
So we have the attitude, which is the foundation, and we understand success, which is the structure we're building. Now we need the energy to actually do the work. Section 3, motivation.
And Khera makes a really interesting and, I think, useful distinction here between inspiration and motivation. We tend to use those words interchangeably.
We do.
But he says they're very different mechanics.
How so?
Inspiration, he says, is a change in thinking. It's that spark you get when you listen to a podcast like this, or you hear a great speech, or read a powerful book. You go, wow, I see the world differently now.
It's a shift in perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But motivation is a change in action. It's what actually gets you out of bed to go for that run.
And he compares motivation to personal hygiene or food.
Right. It's not a one-time thing. You don't eat a huge breakfast on Monday morning and say, well, that's me done for the week on the food front.
Right. You have to eat every day.
You have to refuel every day. Motivation is the same. It's a maintenance job. It leaks. You have to constantly top it up.
He illustrates the power of motivation, and specifically how we choose to interpret our own circumstances with the story of the two brothers. And this one really challenges that environment is destiny argument we talked about.
It totally does. It's a study of these two brothers who grew up in just a horrific home. Their father was an abusive alcoholic, so their childhood was violence, poverty, chaos. That was their baseline reality.
Fast forward 20 years.
A researcher finds them. One brother is now a homeless alcoholic, living on the streets, sometimes violent. He has essentially become his father.
And the other brother?
The other brother is a wealthy, sober, successful businessman with a happy family, a pillar of his community.
So a reporter interviews them both separately. He asks the first brother, the one on the streets, "Why are you the way you are?"
And the brother says, "Because of my father. What choice did I have? I watched him. I learned from him. I was doomed. He made me this way." It's a story of victimhood.
Okay. Then the reporter goes to the successful brother and asks him the exact same question. "Why are you the way you are?"
And he gives the exact same answer.
Right.
Because of my father.
That is just... it's so profound.
He says, I watched my father. I saw what alcohol and anger did to him, what it did to our family. And I swore to myself, with every fiber of my being, that I would never, ever be like that.
The same stimulus, the exact same environment.
Produces the polar opposite response.
It proves that the external event doesn't drive the car. We drive the car. We choose whether a trauma is going to be our excuse to fail or our reason to succeed.
It's all about interpretation.
That leads to the different types of motivation he talks about. External versus internal. External is the classic carrot in the stick.
It's fear, money, bonuses, threats. Do this or you're fired. Do this and you'll get an extra $100. And look, It works.
But it's temporary.
It's like a sugar rush.
Yeah.
It wears off fast. And you have to keep increasing the dose, a bigger bonus, a scarier threat, to get the same effect over time.
Internal motivation, on the other hand, is like a nuclear reactor. It's self-sustaining. It's pride, a sense of achievement, responsibility, a sense of purpose.
And there is no better example of this in the entire book than the story of the soccer player.
This one is a tearjerker.
It really is. So you have a high school soccer team, and there's a kid on the team who is, let's be honest, he's a bench warmer. He's not very athletic, but he has incredible heart. He shows up to every single practice, works his tail off.
And his dad is always there in the stands.
Always. Every single practice, every game, just sitting there cheering him on, even though the kid never actually gets in the game.
Right.
Then suddenly the boy stops coming to practice. He disappears for 4 days, right before the big championship finals.
He shows up on game day, though, dressed in his jersey, looking incredibly intense.
He goes straight to the coach and just begs him, "Coach, you have to let me play today, please. You just have to."
And the coach is thinking, "Kid, this is the finals. We're playing the best team in the state. I can't put you in."
But the boy is so adamant, almost desperate, that the coach finally relents. He puts him in.
And then the miracle happens.
The kid plays like he's possessed. He's faster than he's ever been. He's more aggressive. He's tackling everyone. He's everywhere on the field. He scores a winning goal. The whole team goes wild.
So in the locker room afterwards, the coach is just stunned. He pulls the kid aside and says, "Son, I have never, ever seen you play like that. What on earth got into you?"
And the boy takes a deep breath and says, "Coach, you know my dad. You know how he used to come to every single practice?" The coach nods. And the boy says, "Well, my dad was blind. He passed away 4 days ago. Today is the first time he can actually see me play."
Wow. Yeah, even retelling it, that just lands with a thud.
That is internal motivation.
Okay.
He wasn't playing for the trophy. He wasn't playing for the applause from the crowd. He was playing for something so deep in his soul, to honor his father.
When you have a why that strong, the how becomes easy.
That boy became a completely different player because his internal engine fundamentally changed.
But to have that kind of powerful engine, you need a strong chassis to hold it. You need self-esteem. And that's section 4.
And Khera uses a visual here that I think perfectly explains why so many of us feel stuck in our lives or careers. It's the pumpkin in the jar.
Tell us about the pumpkin.
So a farmer wants to win a prize at the fair for growing a perfectly square pumpkin. So what he does is, when the pumpkin is just a tiny little bud on the vine, he places it inside a small, square glass jar.
And then just leaves it there to grow.
Right. It's still connected to the vine, getting sun and water. And the pumpkin grows, but as soon as it hits the glass walls of the jar, it stops expanding in that direction.
So it fills the container.
It fills the jar perfectly, and then it just stops and hardens. When he breaks the jar at harvest time, he has a perfect square pumpkin, the exact size and shape of the container he put it in.
And the metaphor is painfully obvious.
We are the pumpkin. The jar is our self-concept. It's what we believe about ourselves.
If you believe you're a C student, you'll study just enough to get a C.
If you believe you are bad with money, you will subconsciously sabotage your savings to make sure you stay broke. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You cannot perform beyond the limits of your own self-image.
So the big question is, how do we break the jar?
We have to change the narrative we tell ourselves about our own disadvantages. Khera calls this turning a scar into a star.
And he lists some pretty heavy hitters here as examples.
He does. Beethoven composed his greatest symphonies while he was stone deaf. John Milton wrote the epic poem Paradise Lost while he was completely blind.
And Wilma Rudolph.
Wilma Rudolph had polio as a child and was told she'd never walk again without braces. She went on to become an Olympic sprinter, the fastest woman in the world.
The quote he uses is just perfect. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out.
It's not about denying the handicap. Beethoven didn't pretend he could hear. He learned to feel the vibrations through the floor. He used the internal silence to hear the music more clearly in his head. It's about leveraging the constraint, not just enduring it.
This self-esteem concept also dictates how we treat other people. And this is the givers versus takers dynamic he talks about.
There's a very pithy line Khera uses here that I love. Takers eat well, but givers sleep well.
Oh, it's really good.
And he illustrates this with the story of the man who's outside washing his brand new car. His neighbor walks by, sees this beautiful shiny car, and whistles. He says, "Wow, That's an amazing car. I wish I had a car like that.
The man watching the car smiles and says, "My brother gave it to me."
And the neighbor's eyes go wide. He immediately says, wow, I wish I had a brother like that.
Which is the classic taker response. The focus is on receiving. I wish someone would give me stuff.
Exactly. But then the neighbor thinks for a second and corrects himself. He says, no, wait, I wish I was a brother like that.
That's the shift.
There's the entire shift. High self-esteem focuses on being the source, not just the receptacle. The desire is, I want to be the kind of person who can give a car, not I want to be the kind of person who gets given a car.
And ironically, the people who focus on being that person usually end up having those things anyway, but the motivation is completely different.
It comes from a place of abundance, not scarcity.
But to get to that level of being requires something most of us struggle with: discipline. And I love how Khera reframes discipline. We usually think of it as a cage. I can't eat the donut. I can't sleep in. It feels restrictive.
He flips that completely. He uses the analogy of a kite. A young boy is flying a kite on a windy day. The kite is soaring, but it's tugging hard against the string, fighting to go higher. The boy thinks, this string is just holding the kite down. If I cut it, the kite will be free to go all the way to the moon.
So he gets some scissors and cuts the string.
And what happens to the kite?
It plummets. It just tumbles out of the sky and crashes to the ground.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Because the string wasn't holding it down at all.
The string was what was holding it up.
The string was providing the necessary tension against the wind, which is what generates lift. Discipline is the string. It looks like a restriction from one perspective, but it is actually the mechanism that keeps you in the air.
Without the discipline of practice, your skills crash. Without the discipline of saving money, your finances crash.
Discipline isn't a prison. Discipline is freedom.
That's a really powerful reframe. Okay, so moving to section 5. You've got the right attitude, you've got the internal drive, you've got solid self-esteem. Now you have to deal with the most unpredictable variable in the entire universe.
Other people.
Other people. Interpersonal skills.
You can't succeed in a vacuum. Khera quotes John D. Rockefeller, who at one point was the richest man in the world. And Rockefeller said, I will pay more for the ability to deal with people than for any other ability under the sun.
That's the wealthiest man in modern history saying, your technical skills are less valuable to me than your people skills.
That should tell us something. And Khera warns about what he calls the boomerang effect.
Whatever you throw out comes back.
Exactly. Whatever you throw out into the world, anger, judgment, kindness, support, it comes back to you. And usually with more force.
He also makes a really important clarification between ego and pride. I feel like in pop culture, we use those two words interchangeably. He has a lot of pride, or he has a big ego.
Khera draws a very hard line between them. He says pride is the pleasure you get from an accomplishment, but it's combined with humility. He calls it a swollen heart. You're full of gratitude and satisfaction.
Whereas ego?
Ego is just arrogance. It's self-intoxication. It's a swollen head.
And the quote he uses is brutal. Egotism is the anesthetic that deadens the pain of stupidity.
It's a very polite way of saying that ego makes you blind. When your head is swollen, you can't see your own mistakes. You can't learn. You just blame everyone else for your problems.
Speaking of blaming everyone else, we have to talk about the crabs. The crab mentality.
This is a real phenomenon that fishermen know very well. If you catch a bunch of crabs and put them in an open bucket or a box, you don't need to put a lid on it.
Why not? Can't they just climb out?
A single crab could climb out very easily. But as soon as one crab starts to pull himself up the side and gets close to the top,
the others pull him back down.
The other crabs reach up and drag him right back down into the bucket with them.
If I can't have it, neither can you.
It is jealousy in its purest, most destructive form. It ensures that everyone in the bucket gets cooked in the end. And Khera warns us to identify the crabs in our own lives.
The people who make those little snide comments when you try to improve yourself, the ones who say, oh, you think you're better than us now.
Exactly. But even more importantly, to check if we are being the crab for someone else.
Right. When you see a colleague get a promotion, what's your first gut instinct? Is it to congratulate them, or is it to find a reason why they didn't deserve it?
That's the crab test.
He also touches on how we signal our own insecurity through phony behavior. The story of the executive on the phone is just perfect.
This is classic cringe comedy. A young executive has just gotten a big promotion. He's sitting in his fancy new corner office. A maintenance man knocks on the door and walks in.
And the executive wants to look busy and important.
Of course. So he immediately picks up his desk phone and starts having this loud, fake conversation.
Yes, that's right. Sell the shares.
Yeah.
No, I won't take a penny less than $1 million. Tell the London office they'll have to wait for my call.
Just putting on this huge show. He does this for a good 2 minutes. Then he dramatically hangs up the phone, looks at the visitor with a sigh, and says, "Now, what can I do for you?"
And the visitor smiles and says,
"I'm just here to connect your phone, sir."
"Ah, it's so devastating."
It just destroys all trust and credibility instantly. You can't build a real relationship on a lie. People can smell insecurity a mile away. Authenticity, even if it means admitting you're not that busy, is always, always more powerful than a fake hustle.
So how do we lock all of these good behaviors in? How do we make them automatic so we don't have to think about them all the time? That brings us to section 6, habits and the subconscious mind.
Khera describes the formation of habits with a terrifyingly accurate image. He says, habits are like cobwebs. Then they become cables.
I remember that line. At first, they are too light to be felt until they are too strong to be broken.
Exactly. They just sneak up on you. And the key to controlling them, he argues, is understanding the subconscious mind. Khera says our subconscious is like a fertile garden. It will grow whatever you plant. Beautiful flowers or poisonous weeds. It doesn't judge. It just grows.
And he uses the blue elephant exercise to show how tricky this is to manage.
Right. It's very simple. If I tell you right now, don't think of a blue elephant, what is the very first thing that pops into your head?
A very large, very blue elephant.
Your mind cannot process the negative command, don't, without first creating the image of the thing you're not supposed to think about. So when people say to themselves, "I won't be angry, I won't be angry,"
their subconscious just hears, angry, angry.
And it reinforces the very state they're trying to avoid.
So the hack is to use positive framing instead.
Always. Instead of "I won't be angry," you have to tell yourself, "I am calm and relaxed." Instead of "I won't be late," it's "I am prompt and on time." You have to give your subconscious the positive picture you want it to reproduce.
And how long does this kind of mental reprogramming take? He gives a very specific number.
He does. It's the 21-day formula. He says that based on research, it takes a minimum of 21 consecutive days of conscious, deliberate practice to either break an old habit or form a new one. He calls it the gestation period.
This is where most people fail, isn't it? They try something for 3 or 4 days, they don't see a dramatic result, and they quit.
It's like planting a seed on Monday and then digging it up on Tuesday to see if it's growing yet. You destroy the progress. You have to trust the gestation process.
He also breaks down the learning process for any new skill or habit into the competence ladder. I found this super helpful because it explains why learning something new feels so awkward and difficult at first.
Yeah, it's a great model.
Let's walk through it using driving a car as the example.
Sure. Stage 1 is unconscious incompetence.
The ignorance is bliss stage.
Exactly. You're a little kid, you see your parents drive, it looks effortless, you don't know how to do it.
Then you turn 16 and get behind the wheel for the first time.
And you immediately enter stage 2, conscious incompetence. You sit in the driver's seat and suddenly realize, oh my God, there are 3 pedals and I only have 2 feet. There are mirrors and signs and other cars. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing.
This is the fear and anxiety stage. It's where most people quit trying to form new habits.
It is. But if you push through, you take lessons, you practice, and you move to stage 3, conscious competence.
You can drive, but you are white-knuckling the steering wheel.
You're thinking about every single move. Okay, check the mirror, now the signal, check the blind spot, ease off the clutch, add a little gas. You're doing it, but it takes 100% of your mental focus. It's exhausting.
And finally, if you keep practicing,
you reach the Holy Grail, stage 4, unconscious competence. This is when you drive home from work, you're listening to a podcast, you're thinking about what to make for dinner. You pull into your driveway and realize you don't even remember the drive.
Yeah.
Your body and your subconscious did it all automatically.
That is the goal. We want winning to be a stage 4 habit. We want integrity and hard work and a positive attitude to be so deeply ingrained that we do them without even thinking about it.
Precisely. You want to become an unconscious winner.
Okay, moving on to section 7, goal setting. Khera asks a very simple question at the start of this chapter. If goals are so great and so important, why don't most people set them?
Fear of failure is the big one. People are afraid to commit to a goal because they might not achieve it. But he also identifies what he calls the small frying pan syndrome.
I love this story. Tell it.
A man is watching a fisherman. The fisherman is having a great day. He catches a huge, beautiful fish. He looks at it for a moment, frowns, and then throws it back into the water.
Throws it back.
Throws it back. A few minutes later, he catches a tiny little fish. He smiles, takes it off the hook, and puts it in his basket. The man watching is confused and asks him, "Excuse me, why are you throwing back the big fish and keeping the small ones?"
And the fisherman says,
"Because I only have a small frying pan."
"It's so absurd, but we do it all the time. We shrink our goals to fit our current reality instead of expanding our reality to fit our goals."
"I can't apply for that management job. I'm just a junior associate." That's a small frying pan talking.
Get a bigger frying pan.
Exactly. Buy a bigger pan. Expand your self-concept first.
He also warns about confusing motion with progress. And this is the story of the processionary caterpillars.
This is a famous experiment by a French scientist named Jean-Henri Fabre. He took these caterpillars, which have a biological instinct to follow the caterpillar in front of them no matter what, and he arranged them in a circle around the rim of a big flower pot.
And in the center of the pot.
In the center of the pot, just inches away, he put a big pile of pine needles, which is their favorite food.
So the food is right there.
It's inches away. They can probably smell it. But because they're hardwired to just follow the leader, they just marched in a perfect circle around the rim of the pot, round and round and round.
For how long?
They marched for 7 days until they dropped dead from starvation and exhaustion.
They worked hard. I mean, they marched until they literally died.
But they didn't get anywhere. And we often do the same thing. We confuse being busy with being effective. If you don't have a clear goal, the food in the center, you're just marching in a circle.
So we need SMART goals. We've heard that acronym before. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. But Khera adds a really important layer here that I think is missing from a lot of business books. He talks about the wheel of life.
Right. Success isn't just one spoke on a wheel. If you make $1 million, but you have a heart attack at age 40 because you never exercised, did you really win?
No.
If you become the CEO of a major company, but your children don't know who you are and won't talk to you, did you win?
It's a hollow victory.
Khera identifies 6 key spokes: family, financial, physical, mental, social, and spiritual. If any one of those spokes is broken or missing, the whole wheel clunks along. The ride of life is bumpy. You have to set goals and maintain balance in all of them.
Which brings us to the final summit of the book, Section 8. Values and vision. This is the bedrock that everything else sits on. And Khera makes a crucial distinction here between winning as an event and being a winner as a spirit.
This is the moral core of the entire book. Without this section, the rest is just a manual for effective manipulation.
True.
And he offers a heuristic for making ethical decisions that I think is just brilliant in its simplicity. He calls it the mama test.
Or the baba test for the dads.
Right. The idea is when you're about to do something, maybe fudge some numbers on a report or lie to a client to close a deal, you stop and ask yourself one simple question. If my mother was standing here watching me do this, would she pat me on the back and say, "Attaboy," or would she hang her head in shame?
It just cuts right through all the intellectual rationalization. We can justify anything to ourselves. Oh, it's just business. Everyone does it. But you can't rationalize your own mother's look of disappointment.
He says if you can't pass the mama test, just don't do it. Even if it makes you more money in the short term, because the cost to your self-esteem and your character is far too high.
He gives some incredibly powerful examples of honor. The one that always stuck with me is the story of Lawrence Lemieux.
The Olympic sailor.
Yeah. It's the 1988 Olympics. He's in second place in his race. He is on track to win a silver medal, maybe even gold. The winds are crazy that day. It's a dangerous race. And he looks over and sees that a competitor from Singapore, his boat has capsized. The guy is injured and he's drowning. So Lemieux has a choice. He can keep sailing and win his medal, or he can stop and save a man's life.
And he doesn't even hesitate. He immediately turns his boat around, sails against the race course. He pulls the injured guy out of the water, waits with him for the rescue boat to arrive. He eventually finishes the race in 22nd place.
He lost the medal.
He lost the event. But he won as a human being. The International Olympic Committee ended up giving him a special award for sportsmanship. But more importantly, he has to live with himself for the rest of his life. And he knows he's a winner. If he had sailed past a drowning man just to win a piece of metal, he would have been a loser forever, no matter what they put around his neck.
There's one last story in the book that it breaks me every time I read it. The blind girl at the airport.
This is really the crescendo of the whole book. It ties everything together. A group of sales executives are running through an airport terminal. They're late for their flight. In their frantic rush, they accidentally knock over a stand where a young blind girl is selling apples. The apples go rolling everywhere across the floor.
Most of the guys just curse and keep running. Sorry, can't miss the flight.
But one man stops. He sees what happened. He tells his buddies to go on without him. He kneels down on the floor. He gathers up all the apples. He notices that some of them are bruised from the fall, so he takes out his wallet and gives the girl a $40 bill. He says, "I'm so sorry we knocked your stand over. I hope this covers the damages."
And as he turns to walk away, the blind girl calls out to him.
She asks him a question that just stops him dead in his tracks.
Yeah.
She says, "Mister, are you God?"
Chills. Every single time.
To that girl in that chaotic, dark, and scary world, that single act of kindness and integrity was so foreign, so unexpected, it felt divine. That salesman missed his flight. He probably lost a commission, but he won. He changed a life. He passed the ultimate test.
And Khera wraps up the entire book with what he calls the dying perspective.
It really brings us full circle. He says, "When you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice."
You rejoice because you know you didn't leave anything on the table. You fought the good fight. You built the TQP. You broke the jar.
That is the ultimate definition of being a winner.
So let's try to synthesize this. We've gone on a pretty big journey today. We started with attitude, that 85% foundation. We defined success not as a destination, but as a progressive realization of a worthy goal.
We fueled it with internal motivation, not just external carrots and sticks. We built the chassis with strong self-esteem, understanding we have to break the jar of our self-imposed limits.
We learned to navigate other people with interpersonal skills, avoiding the crab mentality and the boomerang effect. We learned how to lock it all in with positive habits, using the 21-day formula to reach unconscious competence.
We set smart goals that balance the entire wheel of life, not just our bank account. And finally, we grounded every single action in a foundation of values, making sure we can always pass the mama test.
It's a logical chain, isn't it? You can't skip a link. You can't have lasting success without a foundation of attitude. You can't have true values if your habits are bad. It's a complete ecosystem for a successful life.
And it all comes back to that ancient wisdom he mentioned at the start, the law of cause and effect. Sowing and reaping. Success isn't an accident. It's not luck. It's a harvest. You plant the thoughts and you reap the actions. You plant the actions, you reap the habits. You plant the habits, you reap the character. And your character is your destiny.
So here is our final provocative thought for you to take away today. Khera talks about the need for a checkup. We take our cars in for a tune-up, we go to the doctor for a physical, but we almost never stop to check our own attitude inventory.
So here's the question we want to leave you with. If you were put on trial today for the crime of being a winner, based on the rich definition we just discussed, based on your character, your contribution, your attitude, would there be enough evidence to convict you?
Oof, that is a heavy question to end on. If the jury looked at your life today, would they convict you of being a winner?
Well, on that. Look at the evidence. And if the evidence is a little thin, well, now you have the construction manual. You can start building your case today.
Winners don't do different things. They do things differently. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.
Keep building.